today we're making part one of coil vases. Before you get too far into a coil vase, you need to understand the anatomy of a vase. So we're going to take a look at the anatomy of a vase first. Okay, so a vase has, just like our body, has a foot, a belly, which is this lower portion here that is going to kind of demonstrate the overall form, the shoulder, and the shoulder is where that curvature starts to transition from the belly to the neck. The neck is the narrower part. Some necks are wide, some necks are extremely narrow, like a bottle. And then lastly, the lip or the rim. And that's going to be the finishing touches or the finishing part of the vase and where the flowers will interact with it and where a lot of people are going to see a highlighted craftsmanship of your work. So keeping the anatomy of a vase in mind, we're going to start to make a template of a coil vase so we can then make accurate coil vases. So the first things you're going to need are some paper, because you might need to try a couple attempts. You'll need scissors and a writing implement. I'm going to use a Sharpie so it's easier to see. All right. So in order to make our coil vase, we want to understand first height and width. So a piece of paper is 8.5 inches wide by 11 inches tall. And an 11-inch tall vase is a relatively good size for a vase. So we're going to try to use all of this height for our coil vase. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half long ways and create a profile of my vase. This is the spine. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to do it this way. This is the spine, and this is the open leaf side. Keeping in mind I'm only drawing half of this vase, I want to consider the top of my lip, and I want it to come out and down and in. I would like to consider my neck, and then I want to start thinking about the shoulder. So I'm going to come out with my shoulder, and now I'm going to transition to the belly. Now your foot should be somewhere in alignment with the neck. Okay, if you have a really narrow neck and a narrow foot, that makes sense. If you have a really narrow neck and a really wide foot, it's going to look really heavy and it's not going to have that lift off the table. So I'm going to go ahead and narrow this down. And then when I get to here, I'm going to actually go straight because I would like to have some stability with my vase. Okay, so that's going to be my exterior half of vase. Now when I open it, it's going to end up being the whole vase. So I'm going to cut along the lines that I've just created. And you know what? I think I'm going to want this to be a little bit more of a curve and less of that completely straight line. So I'm going to curve it with my scissors. And I know that a thicker rim or a rim that protrudes a little bit tends to be stronger. So I'm going to try to keep my rim intact. All right, paper scraps. Okay, time to open. Here is my vase form. Okay, so this is going to be the vase that I'm going to be making for this coil vase project. If you don't like the form, fold it back in half, take your scissors and go back and make edits. Okay, you may take a couple tries to get a vase form that you're really happy with. Okay, step one is to create this template. The next thing you want to think about is creating this foot here. Okay, we're going to need a disc because remember, this is going to rotate and become three-dimensional. It's not a flat piece. So we're going to think about a circle. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my edges, my center, and my other edge. I'm going to move my vase, form template, and try to go perpendicular. I have this line of the crease to help me line up. I'm going to mark, and I'm going to mark. I'm going to do it again over here. So this way it's going to be a little bit easier to create a symmetrical circle. And I'm going to mark, and I'm going to mark. I'm going to do it to this one direction here. And I'm going to mark. Ooh, that wiggled on me. I'm going to mark, and I'm going to mark. Now I have a pretty good idea of that circle. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and connect my dots, trying to maintain that arc. 1, 2. And turn the paper so I can keep that same idea of arc. Is it perfect? No, but it's pretty close. And a lot of these kinks are going to get worked out in the actual clay. So we generally have the circle we're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and cut this circle out. And here, while you're cutting your circle, you can start to make kind of miniature edits with the scissors to try to make it a little bit more circular, or you can stick to the lines and make the edits in clay. Okay, I'm going to flip this upside down and take a look at my circle.
Start our earthquake drill. So the earthquake drill is going to begin. I need you to drop